In this video, we're going to talk about how to find the inverse of a function. And the example that we're going to walk through to kind of learn the process is f of x is equal to the cubed root of x minus 5 plus 2. Now you can see written on the right-hand side of the screen in green the 4 steps that you always want to follow when you're trying to find the inverse of a given function. Your first step is always to replace the function notation, whether it's f of x, g of x, or h of x, with y. Your second step is to switch all of your x's into y's and all of your y's into x's. Your third step is to resolve for y, in other words, get y by itself. And then your final step is cosmetic as well, is just to replace the y with the inverse notation. So let's go ahead and do that with this example. The first step being pretty easy, you just want to change your f of x, in this case, to a y. So we're just going to rewrite the problem as y is equal to the cubed root of x minus 5 plus 2. So now that we've changed it to y, let's go into step 2, and let's switch all of our x's into y's and all of our y's into x's. So now our problem is going to be x is equal to the cubed root of y minus 5 plus 2. And so now we don't have y by itself anymore, so we need to resolve for y. So moving on into step 3, we want to find a way to get y by itself. So the first thing we want to do is get the term with y in it by itself, in other words, the cubed root of y minus 5. So to do that, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. So on the left-hand side, we're now going to have x minus 2 is equal to the cubed root of y minus 5. And now we need to get the y out of the cubed root. So just like if you had a square root, you could square both sides to cancel out the square root. To get rid of a third root, or a cubed root, we're going to raise both sides to the third power. So we're going to raise all of the left-hand side to the third power, the x minus 2, and all of the right-hand side to the third power. And the cubed root and the cube power are going to cancel each other out. So on the left-hand side, we'll have x minus 2 to the third power still. We need to keep those parentheses. And on the right-hand side, the cubed root is now gone, so we have y minus 5. So now the only thing left to do is add 5 to both sides. So adding 5 here and here is going to leave us with, on the left-hand side, x minus 2 to the third power plus 5, so we have to keep that 5 on the outside, we can't move it inside of the parentheses, is equal to y. And now we've resolved for y. So the final step is just to replace y with the inverse notation. So originally we had f of x, so the f inverse of x is going to be equal to x minus 2 raised to the third power plus 5. And that's going to be our answer. Now, one thing I wanted to say is once you get your answer, if you have some extra time and want to check your work, you can always determine whether these functions are in fact inverse functions by putting one inside of the other and then putting the other inside of the one. Just like we did when we were determining we would put f inside of g and g inside of f. If you end up, after doing algebra and simplifying, getting an x in both of those compositions, then you know these are in fact inverse functions. If you get anything else, then you know you made a mistake somewhere along the line, or they're not inverse functions after all. But as long as you follow these steps, you'll always get the right answer. You don't have to check yourself.